Hi guys. Well, unfortunately, we're not live on Facebook as we had planned because everybody is home. My daughter's just come in and told me, and literally everybody in Sydney is at home and everybody is using the internet. So to do a Zoom, we can do that, but to actually do a Zoom and go live is not working tonight. So, why did we decide to do this? Well, Sarah and I, as you may remember from this time last week, decided that Friday mornings in the UK and Friday evenings here in Australia, we would just have a bit of a chat about stuff. And so during the week, I was thinking about what I've been doing for the last 7 years and why it's worked so well for me. I was particularly thinking about it in relation to what's going on at the moment, because you know, we can't hide from the fact that the world's gone pretty crazy, and that, you know, people are, you know, worried and nervous, and they're looking for all ways they can to be as healthy as they possibly can, to avoid getting sick and look after themselves in this really unusual time. So I was reflecting on what's happened to me over the last 7 years. And, you know, I have gone from someone 7 years ago who was 53, and I was unfit, unhealthy, and really not happy in myself. I was around 13 kilos heavier than I am now. So if you have a look at me, I'm a very different physique than I was then. And as I say, I was unfit. At the same time, I decided that I wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I know that sounds crazy. I actually summited Mount Kilimanjaro just over 7 years ago. 7 years ago. So I've just got my maths totally wrong. So I will just wind back the clock. So how I was feeling, I described before, was actually 8 years ago. I summited Kilimanjaro feeling amazing 7 years ago. So, you know, the reason I'm telling you this is because what's happened to me since then is I've been able to maintain that over the time. So in the past, and I'm sure many women can relate to this, I've got fit, got healthy, dropped a bit of weight, felt great, but then everything's sort of gone back to usual. Whereas in this period of time, I've stayed the same. In fact, I've got fitter, healthier, and really in control of my, you know, where I'm at and my own health. And one of the things that I learned to do was to do 1 day a week, what we call in the program we use supported intermittent fasting. And you know what? I just followed the rules. I just, you know, followed the plan, which was to not have anything from around 7, 8 o'clock one night through the next day and to the next morning. And I started to drop weight, but I also started to feel amazing. And even now to this day, I still, I would say probably 48 out of 52 weeks of a year, I do 1 day at least as a minimum of supported fasting. And so then I met Sarah a few years ago. And the beautiful thing about meeting Sarah was that she understood, and also her husband too, they both understood why this works. And so I've been always someone, if something works, I'll give it a go. I'll give something a go. If it works, I'll keep doing it and I'll tell other people about it. But to actually know the why made a big, big difference. So what I did was, you know, I know Sarah since then has done a lot more research into it, because, you know, I might think she knew exactly why this worked, but she's done even more research since then. So yeah, over to you, Sarah. Tell us why it's really made a difference in my world and other people's world to do this.
Fasting has become really popular in the last few years. And there are lots of different types of fasting, and on our system, we certainly start by doing as you say, a day a week, where we cleanse, or, as you say, supported intermittent fasting. I know a lot of people do the 16-8. That's become quite popular, certainly in this country, as a result of the work of Dr. Michael Mosley. And the idea is essentially that for a period of time on a regular basis, and the key here is that it's regular, it becomes a lifestyle, putting the cells of your body under a little bit of stress by not flooding them with sugar, with glucose. certainly in the Western world, we've been eating regularly since the day we were born. And lots of us are eating or snacking or putting fuel in our bodies from, say, 7 in the morning till 10 at night. Our bodies never get a break. Our digestive systems never get a break. But more importantly, what that means that over time is that our cells get lazy about doing their housekeeping. And when you put your body into a fasted state, whichever kind of system you use, whether it's for an extended period of time or whether it's for a few hours every day, which is the case with the 16/8, you are making your body start to use other fuels than glucose. Because when we eat, the carbs in our diet are broken down. Um, they're essentially broken down one way or another into glucose, and that glucose is in our bloodstream and it's stored by our liver, so that it becomes the primary kind of fuel source for our cells, and that's fantastic. In the fasted state, we get to that point when essentially our body has run out of glucose, either the glucose in the blood or the stored glucose, and our body switches to our fat cells starting to release fats, which most of the cells in our body can use as a fuel. And some of those fats are converted into things called ketones or ketone bodies, which is where the keto diet name comes from, which is the fuel source for our brain. Our brain can't use fats as a fuel source. But the key thing is that during this period when we're not using glucose as our fuel, our cells start to think to themselves, I need fuel. What am I going to do? And they ramp up their housekeeping. So the cells actively start to scour themselves for all the junk and the damaged organelles, toxins, pathogens, anything that they can break down and reuse, repurpose. And then they actively transport the stuff they can't use into our bloodstream for our kidneys and our liver and our normal body to deal with and get rid of. So rather than the kind of our cells building up with junk during the kind of fasting period, they get rid of it. And at the same time, they go into repair mode. So they start to repair DNA, they start to produce more mitochondria, which are the little things in cells that actually produce our energy for us. And this is absolutely huge. So it's a question of supporting our bodies to go into a state where they get their housekeeping done, they do their repairs, and as a result, our bodies work so much better when we start to fuel them again.
Wow. You just listen to that. I don't know if anybody else feels this way as you're listening to this, but you listen to that and you think, why would you not push through when you're doing, we do cleanse days, and I know that some people get to the end of them and think, oh no, I really want to have a meal, or that they don't push through. And when I listen to you, it makes me feel so passionate about helping people to push through because of how much good it's doing for you. And I read a comment earlier on today of someone saying, now that I have read why intermittent fasting is so good for you, I now have gone ahead and done a second day in another week. So I think that's so good. So the more we can inform and educate people into why it's good, it helps you to realize that, hey, if you're feeling a little bit hungry, then have some of the allowed products that we do have that support you through that day, and go to bed, drink more water, and just go to bed and sleep. Or go out for a walk. If it's not bedtime, go out for a walk, exercise, just, keep your mind off food. Yeah. So tell me, the products that we use in the UK, being Nourish for Life, over here in Australia, we call it Cleanse for Life. And we also have some little snacks. How do you see that they support people in this fasting time?
The idea behind the ingredients in the Nourish or the Cleanse for Life, which are essentially botanicals and some micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, is that while we're putting our body in a fasted state, and this is where language gets really complicated, we do want to stress our cells a little bit, because if we don't, they don't make those changes, and that's really clear from the research. However, if we can support our body to kind of keep it ticking along, so it's not going into a kind of chronic state of stress in the wider sense, then that helps us get through the day, and it helps our bodies to have a really good experience during that fasting process. The other thing we use are the ISA snacks, and they are really important because they, again, give just a little bit of the things we need, in particular chromium, just to help keep our blood sugar stable, so you don't get that, or you're far less likely to get that kind of crash feeling that you get or panic that sets in when you haven't eaten. It just supports our body to keep it ticking along at that very low level. This is similar to the kind of the 5-2 diet, where 2 days a week you eat less than 500 calories. Well, we know that that's about the right number to keep your body thinking that it's in a fasted state and ticking along. And I think with our Nourish for Life and our ISA snacks, the ISA Delights that you can have, that's essentially what we're doing. So it's not a water fast. You've got some products, you've got some sort of things going into your system that goes, just going to help keep it ticking along.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a number of different ways of doing our supported intermittent fasting. And so we can do the just overnight and have some nourish before we go to bed, and do 12 or 14 hours, which still benefits. We can do a full day with 2 sleeps either side. So that's what I do quite regularly every week. And then you can actually do a double 2 days in a row. So is there anything you want to say about those alternatives, Sarah?
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, for the first couple of years, I very definitely went for the doing the kind of 36-hour fast once a week, or certainly once a fortnight. Personally, now I've switched to the 16/8. It just seems to suit my body and my lifestyle better, and my headset. So the way that I do it is that every morning I have my Ionics, I have my Nourish for Life as a hot tea, and then I have my first shake at midday. I usually exercise in the morning because that's, again, just fits the way that I work. I have my first shake at midday, and I have my second shake at 4 p.m. And then a normal evening meal. And I think that's where, if you are looking to make this into a lifestyle, it's important to appreciate there are different ways of doing this. My body goes into a fasted state for sort of 3-4 hours a day, so I'm getting the benefits there. But if you're looking at this as a long-term sort of weight management strategy in particular, it's just simple math as much as anything. It's far easier to overeat if you're eating for 13 or 14 hours a day, from 7 in the morning till 9 at night, than it is if you're eating in an 8-hour window. Between 12 and 8. So there's lots of kind of ways of looking at it from a psychological standpoint. Whatever's going to make it successful for you.
Absolutely. And, whoever sent you to this video, then they'll be able to give you lots more information, give you some links, and you can really look into it a bit more and chat to them about it. But, let's just wrap up with, I think right now, everybody is concentrating on finding ways to be the healthiest version of themselves. And this is one of those things that you can do, and there's lots more. And we're going to make this a regular segment, Sarah and I. So we will keep coming on here and sharing with you just a few different ideas. And hopefully next week we can do it live. So everybody won't be home at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night in Sydney using their internet.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me. And
great to hop on.
I'm going to end this, and then we'll work out how we get it up online. Okay.
Cool.
See you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.